So I also taught this at Harvard like 6 months ago. The Career Services Office asked me to come in and speak to their mostly graduate level graduates, alumni. And so I walk in, you know, it's Harvard, and there's this big auditorium, 200 people, and I'm going through this, and I get to this part where work the network, and I said, how many of you, this is Harvard, remember, how many of you have a database of friends, people you've met, potential employers, right? Like an Excel spreadsheet, I don't care what it is, but what the technology is. How many of you have a database? 200 people. You know how many people raise their hand?
0.
20. 10%. These are like 30-somethings. Are you kidding me? Your network is literally everything. I mean, I've been in business a long time. I'm going to say 80% of the opportunities I have received as a businessman, as a marketing guy, are derivative of my network. Why? Because at the end of the day, people rely on other people to help them make decisions. Like, who do you know? I'll give you an example. Scott Griffiths from Zipcar is a really good friend of mine. We used to do a lot of work with him. And so people contact me to see if I can help them get into Zipcar, right? So more often than not, I will send Scott a note and say, hey Scott, will you talk to, you know, Ben or whatever. And because Scott knows me and trusts me, he routes the resume to HR with his imprimatur, the CEO of Zipcar, and 99.9% of the time the person gets an interview. Simply because it's the network. And so, well, everybody you meet, and I don't care whether you meet them here, you meet them at your parents' cocktail party, you meet them wherever you meet them, everybody is worth connecting with, and everybody's name is worth capturing, and everybody is worth staying in touch with, because you just never know. And it's amazing how many people don't, not just the Harvard people, but I told this terrible story when I was at Tufts last week about I mean, I think this is a really sad story that is sort of commonplace today, which is, I went to school, my name's Joe, and I went to school 20 years ago, and after school, I got a job at Fidelity right away, and it was a good job, like project manager job, and so I started, you know, I went to work every day, and then I ended up getting married, and then I had 2 kids, and every day I put my head down, and I went to Fidelity, and I did my job, and I had my little work group at Fidelity, and that was pretty much who I know, and then I had some friends at home, but that was my little world, and it was all fine and all good, and I thought that was the way it was going to be, and then I got laid off. And when I got laid off, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a network. And that's happening. A lot of people out there are struggling to find opportunities, in large part because they don't have a network. So if all you do, if you disagree with me about the one simple thing, fine. But if all you do is work really hard at building your network, it will benefit you mightily. As an example, I have 500 or 600 connections on LinkedIn. I'm ashamed of that. I'm 51 years old. That number should be like 45,000. But it wasn't until I was about 30 years old that I realized, holy shit, who I know is really important. I better do a better job of building my database. My company has a database of about 12,000 people. Our target market is all the CMOs and CEOs in New England. And I think that's pretty good. But we struggle with it. It's an ongoing battle. But again, your data, how many of you, just out of curiosity, have any kind of database? You beat Harvard, all right. Seriously, do I need to say this again? Build your fucking database. Okay, so this is what most people's network looks like. It's like a little twig, and you're out there all alone in the branch, and you got like 5 people you know. Actually, I'll give you another funny story. So 4 years ago, I teach this Tufts class every year, every semester. 4 years ago, I taught the class, and I didn't have this whole presentation done, but I did go on this whole riff about how to find a job and your network is everything and all this stuff. And I literally said in this class of like 20, 18-year-olds, you're crazy. I looked at them and I said, you're crazy if you don't get my card before I leave this class. Because I'm a connector. I know a fair, I mean, if you want a job in New England down the road, I know a lot of people in New England, or at least in Boston. And 4 years ago, before the economy tanked, nobody did that, right? Nobody rushed up to me at the end. Maybe it's because I was boring or they thought I was wrong or whatever, but they didn't come up to me and go, can I have your card? Last year when I did it, the entire, all 20 kids were like, you know? So people get it when the need is there. So anyway, the point is this is sort of most people's network, and this is what you want it to be. You know, you want it to be multi-tentacled. Everybody matters. You have no capacity to judge who does not matter to your future. None. So parking lot attendant, president of a company, everything in between, everybody matters. Okay? Got that?